Folks, we have reached the final weekend of the 2023 Women's World Cup, and our first matchup of the weekend is the penultimate match of the tournament, the third place matchup between Sweden versus Australia from Lang Park in Brisbane. Hello, everyone. I'm Mihir Sinhasan, and thanks for tuning in on what is a Saturday evening in Brisbane, an early Saturday morning here in Phoenix, about 1 a.m. in the morning, 6 p.m. over there in Brisbane and Lang Park. Sam Kerr in Australia against Kosovar Aslani and Sweden. The two respective players will meet up in the center circle along with the four referees today. Cheryl Foster will be the head referee today. She is from Wales. As I mentioned before, an interesting matchup. Australia trying to become the first host to get into the top three since the United States did in 2003, and Sweden trying to get back in the third place spot, as was the case back in 2019 when they beat England in the consolation match. Let's take a look at the starting lineups, and we'll start off with the host today. That is the de facto host, Sweden, being the first team. As you'll have Zasira Musovic in goal, a 4-2-3-1, and no changes to the squad from their loss to Spain. Jonah Anderson, Magdalena Eriksson, Amanda Ilestedt, and Natalie Bjorn across the back. Ellen Rubinson and Philippa Angadal will be your holding midfielders. Elena Rofa, Kosovar Aslani, and Joanna Kanerid will be your attacking midfielders. Stina Blacksenius will be up top. For Australia, same for them. Same formation of a 4-4-2 and the same personnel that you saw on Wednesday in their match, and unfortunately their loss against England. Mackenzie Arnold in goal, Steph Gatley, Claire Polkinghorn, Claire Hunt, and Ellie Carpenter across the back. Caitlin Ford, Kyra Cooney-Cross, Katrina Gorey, and Haley Razzo in the midfield, and Sam Kerr and Mary Fowler up top. Again, a big game for both sides. Australia, despite losing, the hosts have one more opportunity to show the world and to show their country what they've got in the big moments. For Sweden, a chance to build on a dynasty that has not been completed since the United States from 2008 to 2015. That is four consecutive matchups at a global tournament where this team has gotten four consecutive top three finishes. And a lot of players to watch on both sides. Amanda Ilestedt, for a while, it looked like she was maybe going to run away with the Golden Boot race as a center back, mind you. Before it was a lot of different players, including Miyazawa from Japan, who showed up. Mary Fowler, one of the most coverage type players, one of the best endurance, one of the best distance runners when it comes to this tournament. And of course, cannot forget about Sam Kerr in the big moment. She scored a great screamer on Wednesday against England. As the crowd begins to scream here, the countdown begins at Lang Park. The third place game to decide who gets on the podium is underway. Sweden will be in their yellow tops and blue shorts and yellow socks, going from left to right. Australia will be in the turquoise kits, all turquoise kits in that regards, going from right to left. Out there, picked off by Haley Razzo, automatically out of bounds for a Sweden throw-in. High pressure type game, and from what we saw from the lineups for Peter Gerhardsson for Sweden, Tony Gustafsson for Australia, it set a pace of what we could see in this one as Sam Kerr pressures Amanda Ilestedt out towards Joanna Anderson, who will pick this up, and it's knocked out, or rather knocked up by Ellie Carpenter. Back with Sweden it goes. Philippa Angeldal off the turn, plays now in towards Joanna Kanerid. Build up coming out for Sweden. Kosovar Aslani playing through towards Stina Blacksenius, who's in the box, in the clear, saved there. Great one there by Mackenzie Arnold, diving with the right paw, and she's able to parry it away. Ball stays with Sweden in the meantime. All the way to the back, Ilestedt. Fellow center back, Magdalena Eriksson, has picked up all the way to the right. Fridolina Rofa collect, and back towards Eriksson it goes. So before we got all the fracas, what I was going to say was, if you were wondering if either coach was going to change the lineup in ways because of giving players experience, or for the fact of trying some new things because it is the third place match, because it may be a consolation of some sorts. You're wrong. Both teams are flying at full pace from what we've seen in the first 100 seconds or so. And it shows from the roster, as I mentioned before, no changes for both sides. They'll start in the back, out towards Anderson. I'm back passing right now for the Swedish side as Anderson now looks upfield. Will play out towards Rofa, it seemed like. Back towards the back line it goes. They'll start getting pressure from Courage. She'll put it out towards the right. Connect with the chest. And it's cleared forward, ahead by Claire Pokenhorn. Not out of bounds there, not the best one by Steph Catley. Thrown for Australia as we're 2.5 minutes into this one. One quick forward. Ball falls for Blackstenius now. Edge of the box, crosses it in. A little too far for Rofa, which will collect on the left-hand side. Still in the attacking third, close to the edge of the box. As it goes out towards Alan Rubinson. Cross hung in, caught by Arnold. Mackenzie Arnold, again, in the top list of Australian goalkeepers that have managed a clean sheet, according to some sources, that being 15. Again, hasn't managed a clean sheet. Has gotten a few. Last one was against France, 0-0. The one where Australia ended up getting the win 7-6 on penalty kicks. The longest penalty shootout in World Cup history. That goes for both men's and women's. All the way back with Pokenhorn. Catley pressure there on the left, and it was Kara Cooney-Cross who couldn't keep it in play. Out for a Swedish throw-in, deep in the attacking territory. And here's a look at Peter Gerhardsson, Sweden head coach again. Great guy, has been around the game for a while. He's been coaching for a while as well. Because a guy like Gerhardsson has been coaching Blåguld since 2017, succeeding fellow Swede Pia Sundhage, who's currently coaching Brazil. Has been coaching since 1993 and was the mastermind behind this team making a third-place finish in 2019 in France. Long ball sent forward there from the back, a little too far as it goes out for an Australia throw-in, and they are led by another Swede in Tony Gustafsson. He took over the Matildas in 2020. Yes, 2020 was a part of the 2012 Olympics, 2015 Women's World Cup, and 2019 Women's World Cup coaching staff as an assistant to Jill Ellis on the U.S. men's national team. And again, led Australia to a third-place match a couple of years ago in the 2020 Olympics against his former employer. They lost 4-3 in that bronze medal match. Here's Panarin on the right. Slowing through, that's cut away there by Cooney-Cross. Back out towards Angeldal, and now with Bjorn. Sweden continuing to play most of this match with possession and in attacking territory. Ball played up, little through for Aslani, who will give chase there. Pokenhorn will knock this out. It rolls out. Will stay on the touchline, so it will be a throw-in, but nonetheless deep in the attacking third on the right-hand side for Sweden. Out for Angeldal, able to keep it in play. Panarin, Bjorn with a knock, intercepted, bounces around. Still bouncing around and now towards the center of the pitch, and maybe a chance here to break. Good chance here for Haley Razos, taking it back into Sweden territory. Tapping it out towards Ford. Numbers coming back for Sweden. Numbers rolling forward for Australia. Ford's cross is blocked, and now Cheryl Foster will call a handball on Natalie Bjorn after Ford was pleading her case. A few others trying to argue to put up in a yellow card, but more importantly, in a very dangerous spot about 25 yards out for a possible Australia free kick that could go direct. It looked like Bjorn, the arm was closed. Bjorn's arm was closed. It wasn't really extended out, but it did look rather unnatural, which is one of the keys for you to get that foul called against you. So 7th minute of play. Already a pretty fast-paced game compared to some others we've seen. Obviously, I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you're asking the question of, Do either one of these two teams want to get on third place? Do they want to get on the podium? The answer is most certainly yes. Australia with a good chance here. Left-hand side, Zasira Musovic only leaves one woman in the wall, and that being Shauna Kinnear. Kathleen and Cooney Cross standing over the ball. So it could be indirect as the numbers start to line up on the edge of the box. Catley, in swinger at the right, or rather at the left. Goes all the way out towards Cooney Cross from 35 yards out. Played out towards Razzo, or rather towards Gorey. Sorry, my apologies. And Gorey plays it back towards base. Musovic out with Catley. Catley pressured by Canarid. Plays it on the touchline. Rolls still in bounds. All the way back towards Illerstedt. Towards Illerstedt. Bjorn. Passing continues with Sweden back line. Angeldal with the rough first touch and seen out towards an Australia throw-in. Ball knocked off there for the target. Fresh off the quick throw-in. Back with Sweden it goes. 9th minute of play. Still 0-0 between the Sweden and Australia. Again, another UEFA versus AFC matchup, if you will. Rofa puts it up in the air. Spinning around, knocking it around, doing whatever you can with the ball, really. It's Panarin. Tries to knock it around Catley, was shoved there, and with that, we'll get a free kick. Yeah, it's a very, very interesting dynamic of who has been in this situation. How much have we seen in a UEFA versus AFC matchup in a match like this? That being the third place matchup. I'm trying to think back from years prior. 2019 was all the way. 2015 was all the way because this ball is sent long forward towards Blackstenius in the box, trying to knock it off of Pokenborn and failed to do so. So it's a goal kick. But looking back at the history of this, you have a 2019 matchup between two away sides. Same one in 2015, I believe, between England and Germany that the Lions got the third place spot. It's kind of been a little bit of a nifty system, if you will. 2011, it was France against Sweden. Sweden got third place that year. 2007, U.S. against Norway. U.S. against Canada in 2003. Brazil, Norway in 1999. U.S. China in 1995. And Sweden, Germany in 1991. So this is the first time we have seen an AFC team in a third place match since China did so in 1995. This is the first time we have a new UEFA versus AFC matchup. This is kind of interesting, though. We've seen many, like, all the way from matchups. 1991, 2011, we got it, 2015, 2019. So after three consecutive. And then, of course, there was a little stint where the United States were in that third place game. That was the case in 2007 and 2003. Also the case in 1995. Sweden on the left, out with Rofa. Rofa, high cross into the box, caught by Arnold. Yeah, a great build-up by Sweden. It's a good ball played through. Very open play, I would say. It almost feels like the match so far in the first 10 minutes or so have been played in either one of the two halves. As Pokenhorn was seated by the pressure, Slani pressuring over there. It looks like she might have given up a throw in deep in Swedish territory. Well, not deep in Swedish territory, deep in attacking territory, pardon me. Knocking around. Rubinson, fresh off spinning, taken down. It's a free kick. And again, questions for Sweden arise. Could they get on the board first? Other fact of the matter, too, you got Hinata Miyazawa, who's leading the Golden Boot chase, but obviously Japan went out in the quarterfinals to Sweden. And now that leaves the question of Hanamana Ilestedt, maybe Tai Miyazawa. Sweden has never had a Golden Boot winner at the Women's World Cup. Japan has. Aslani, the cross high into the box, going back post, but that's headed away by Carpenter before Rofa could do anything rough with it. Fridolina Rofa had some good chances in the match against Spain. Was hurtling towards the box and one that had a great save. It was towards the end of the first half, where Sweden did not hold much of the possession, but when they did, at times it looked very potent. And I mean, before that flurry of goals in the past 10 minutes of that match, where Sami Pariuelo scored in the 81st, you had Rebecca Blomqvist in the 88th, before it was Olga Carmona in the 89th to send Spain to the final. It was an interesting situation where Sweden was in a position where they held possession in a manner that was possessive, or not just possessive, but potent on the attack. Long ball by Angeldal looking towards Canarid, as Catley will get on the end of that and will clear it out on the touchline. Thrown for Sweden in the attacking third. Canarid takes it quick as it's knocked towards Asllani. Bjorn, 1-2 there with Angeldal. Bjorn again finds some space. Asllani now off towards Rofa, dancing around 25 yards out, laid off towards the left. And now Rofa. Rofa again into some space. Long ball. Canera tries chesting it, but it's a little too high for a 5-6 frame, and it skips out for a goal kick. So I think it's just 5-6. And I know sometimes when I do some matches, I usually keep track on how tall the players are. I don't think I've been doing that with this chat. Canarid's 5'4". Let's give her a little bit more credit than she deserves. Whatever. It's fair enough. Long ball by Arnold. Laid off towards the left. Here's Ford fighting for the ball, knocked back by Bjorn, who had to get a little bit of a recovery going there. Thrown for Australia. Back towards Ford. Tries to get it off the turn. Bjorn this time knocks it away from Ford. Ball knocked off of Fowler there. Is a good touch by Angeldal. Smart one, too. The throw-in for Sweden. 15th minute, still 0-0 between Sweden and Australia. Kind of making this the case that we've seen throughout this Women's World Cup. Not too many early goals. We've had a few, but to my knowledge, at least on matches we've called, I can only remember one that happened in the first 10 minutes. We've had a few in the first 15. As Boy wins the ball back, she's still hurdling for the ball. Tried keeping it in along the end line, but failed to do so. Nonetheless, great energy as it's out for a goal kick. Again, a great matchup between these two teams so far. You see the energy both in the stands at Lang Park, which obviously is mostly in favor of the Matomas, but on the other side, you've got a lot of great players and a lot of great passion on the pitch so far. 16th minute. This will be back for goal kick. Tell you what, the Aussies are still happy. I mean, already this is an historical run, already up there with the greats of Australia, right? Kathy Freeman, so many others, right? The 2000 Sydney Olympics, which, by the way, the opening and closing ceremonies of that is where the final is going to be tomorrow. Spain versus England. The winner gets their first ever FIFA Women's World Cup. Is it Spain, the team that has had a lot of tumultuous times throughout the past year or so, but at the same time is within a golden age unto themselves? Or is it England, the Women's Euro champions? They started the It's Coming Home chants last year. Do they keep it rolling after Sunday night? Let's see. Meanwhile, goal kick for Mackenzie Arnold and Australia. If you're wondering, yes, I will have a live direct for that 3 a.m. Pacific time, 6 a.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. in Sydney, Australia for the final match of this 2023 Women's World Cup. Long ball sent forward. Razo giving chase. Razo able to chest it down. She's in the box, can't square it into the middle. But she will collect on the side. Razo laid off towards Kerr on the right. Into Gory, 25 yards out on the right. Gory back out towards Razo. In her position, edge of the box, cross, deflected away by Illistedt once again. Flipped up, out towards Carpenter now. This time, Rubenson will intervene. Razo again. Razo slomming away. Can she keep it in play? Looks like she has. Plays continued. Gory able to check off Asplani. Gory now slided through, and it's intercepted and cleared by Ellen Rubenson. Going back, Blackstenius with a rough touch, and it's back with Australia. Fowler, Cooney cross, or rather the pass deflected. Still up. Here's Kerr now off the turn into some space. Kerr laid off towards Ford on the left, crossing in the middle, cleared away there by Anderson out on the end line. Anderson collecting that on the back post in order to avert any danger. Already they averted some danger, and they were able to stop more of the bleeding. Nonetheless, corner kick for Australia. How about this too? Haley Razo. I don't think many people have talked about her play. Obviously, with the 2 goals, the winner and the insurance against Canada to send this team to the knockout. Again, this team was in some dire need. They needed 3 points to upend either Canada or Nigeria. Steph Catley from the corner swung into the box, poking Horn with a glancing header, as that will trickle well wide of goal out on the end line. And now a goal kick for Cecilia Musovic and Sweden. Man, great chances throughout. And Claire Polkinghorn, again, the most experienced player in Matilda history with over 200 caps. Couldn't steer it on frame there. Known for coming off the bench, she made an interesting start. Again, it was Alana Kennedy getting the starts earlier on, got it against Denmark, got it against Canada. Polkinghorn slid into that center back spot against England, which worked really well into their favor. Back with Blackstenius, Anderson, Eriksson in the defensive third, all the way back towards Musovic. Anderson, back with Illistedt. Maybe a chance for Sweden to pick their heads up. So back into the round. Bjorn, Engeldahl, picked off by Catley. Little 1-2 on the side, Kerr back towards Catley. Catley with a nice pip into Fowler at the edge of the box. Fowler trying to play through towards Razo. Razo couldn't keep it in play, at least so it looked like it originally. Either way, it was going to be a goal kick and ball back towards Sweden. Again, Haley Razo. Feels like at every World Cup, men's or women's, you always have that one player that always bursts on the scene. And for some teams, it's one team that's making the jump, or one player that is making the jump into a big side, right? So big sides get attracted to them, and then they start to move forward. They start to go forward with pace. It's a game changer to play in a match like this, right? Haley Razo playing with Real Madrid, who, despite Real Madrid having quite an illustrious men's team, their women's team is still picking up. They just started up about a year or 2 ago, as this long ball towards Hunt is pipped back towards Arnold, and Arnold's boot goes out on the left-hand line for Sweden, thrown for Blue Gold. And another long ball sent forward. This time Hunt will just lay it off towards the end line, or rather towards the right for Carpenter. Back heel out for a Sweden throw-in. Anderson, picked off there by Razo. Maybe a chance to go forward here. It's a nice play there. Now there's a chance for Australia to pick it up. Ball played through, knocked out there by Bjorn. And that too, I believe that was Razo again. Yes, so Razo playing a little bit on the left-hand side in that build-up. Nonetheless, it will be Catley to take the throw-in. So it looks like a little bit of a change of wings there. Caitlin Ford might be going out towards the right, and Haley Razzo playing on the left. Speaking of Razzo, she took some touches, went down, no foul called. Catley, the left-footed cross, can't find Kerr. Cooney cross, can't get it back. Rubinson fighting for the ball. She takes a nice first-time through ball in towards Blackstenius, who's fighting with Hunt. Hunt able to wrestle her off and take the tackle. Oakenhorn in the back, laid off towards Hunt again. Catley, Razzo, laid back once again towards Pokenhorn. A little bit too much sauce on that one, but it goes back towards Arnold. Arnold with the long ball forward. Up with Ford now, who's on the right. Laid off towards Carpenter. It's a good ball in, and Carpenter can't find Gorey, who is in the middle. Sweden again struggling to get possession. Australia, despite being the road team on paper today, obviously have most of the fans cheering for them. Gorey laid off to the right. Maybe a chance here. Ford off towards Carpenter. Into the box. Carpenter right towards Razzo. Razzo going around. Shot near post. Saved by Musovic. Little bit of a change of the wings, and almost we saw those two getting some key connections there, much to the avail of the Australian fans in attendance today. Corner kick for the Matildas. How about this build-up, too? Razzo, again, with finding space, being low-key in some areas, to just find some space in the area, find a shot, right? This is how she got her goals. 2 against Canada, 1 against Denmark. She almost executed it there to perfection. 24th minute, still 0-0. I'm Mihir Sinhasan. Thanks for tuning in on the Saturday morning. Kyra Cooney cross into the box, caught there by Musovic. Glad that you could tune in. So far, an interesting match here on what is a Saturday evening in Brisbane, an early Saturday morning in Phoenix. Again, picked head up, a long ball sent forward towards Aslani, and Arnold will collect right at the edge of the box. Took a nice bounce there, so would just collect in the area. Otherwise, she would have been in real trouble with Aslani breathing down her neck. And a Carpenter. Pokinghorn. At the turn, sends it back towards goal. Into the 6-yard box it goes. And now sent out there by Arnold. Razzo in the middle. Gorey, Fowler. We know the distance she likes to cover. She sends it out towards Catley. Ford will take it on the left this time. She plays it in towards Catley. Hanson around. Back towards Cooney cross. Right-footed cross. A little too high, and Musovic will catch it on the run. The 25th minute between these two teams. Again, Sweden with the loss to Spain 2-1. Talked about that earlier. Australia 3-1 loss to England. Ella Toon of the Lioness got the first goal in the 36th minute. Sam Kerr responded in the 63rd with probably, in my opinion, one of the goals of the tournament. 25-yard screamer before it was England the rest of the way. Lauren Hepp at the 71st before Alex Russo got the insurance goal. Alessia Russo got the deciding goal, rather the insurance goal, right before stoppage time. So that led to England making their first ever final as Angeldal plays it through towards Blackstenius. Inside the box, taken down, out towards Aslani at the edge. Aslani into the middle, off the crossbar. Such a close chance again, as it was Fridolina Rolfa rattling into the middle, and her header just finds the woodwork rather than the back of the net. Again, first off, great ball by Angeldal. Blackstenius was there. But again, a great recognition there by Aslani in the middle. And Rolfa, again, she had so many good chances in that match against Spain. And again, it just doesn't seem to turn in. Again, had quite a good goal-scoring run to start off this tournament. Scored against South Africa, scored against Italy, but hasn't scored since. 2 goals there for the FC Barcelona woman in this tournament. Almost got number 3 over there. Looks like Cheryl Foster is checking to see if there's a possible penalty kick. She will head to the monitor. So a possibility we could get a set piece from the spot here in the 27th minute. And again, let's see what ends up happening. So they're talking a possible foul here. It was originally in the build-up where Blackstenius went down in the box. Claire Hunt essentially clipped her from behind, knocking Blackstenius in her left heel, or rather in her right heel, as Blackstenius went down. That was before she laid it off towards Aslani. But either way, definitely no contact with the ball. My question would be, is there enough contact to draw the foul? Because obviously, if you're going off no ball, this is a penalty. But for me, this is basically just a simple knock of the boot for Hunt. Quick check by Cheryl Foster. She's out. Let's see what the call is. And a tripping will be called on Claire Hunt. Penalty kick coming up for Sweden. And again, not a good moment there for Australia, as once again, the home crowd were used to see their team going down 1-0. Again, they got Mackenzie Arnold in goal. She's played well so far. Could be a way to go there. Hunt, one of the few players on this squad that actually play in Australia, I believe with Western Sydney Wanderers, if I'm not mistaken. I can always cross-check that. But again, a lot of options here for Sweden if you want to decide who ends up taking this. It will be, for right now, Philippa Angeldal. Philippa Angeldal staying there in the middle. Got a goal against Japan. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was also a penalty kick. Yeah, I can always check that. But nonetheless, looks like it is Angeldal. So yes, she did score a penalty kick against Japan in the 51st minute. Ended up being the decider in that game as now the Matildas get their hands towards their mouth. 29th minute. And you got Philippa Angeldal against Mackenzie Arnold. Kind of an interesting matchup there. So here we go. Tank is made, and it's in the net. And it's a goal for Sweden. It was actually Fridolina Rolfö who was standing with the ball. And the FC Barcelona woman makes it 1-0 here in the 30th minute of this third place match. Again, simple run up there for Rolfö. Arnold went to the correct side, diving to her left, but Rolfö's kick just snuck through. And with that, deadlock is broken. Again, both teams used to scoring goals in third place matches. The third place match last year between England and Sweden was Sweden winning that 2-1. And then, as I mentioned before, Australia lost to the United States 4-3 in the bronze medal match a couple years ago at the Olympics. Once again, Australia finds themselves in a hole. Can they get it back here? Gory pressures the other way. She's taken down, no foul called. Ford will do the same as it's cleared out there, I believe by Bjorn, or rather by Rolfö, fresh off the goal that was tracking all the way back. Had to stretch out the legs a little bit, but nonetheless with another clearance. It looks like that clearance and rather the tussle between her and Ford will lead to a free kick for Sweden. So again, you had Rolfö converting the penalty kick off a foul on one side of the pitch and then immediately fouled on the other side. Kind of an interesting proclamation. Especially knowing that Rolfö is playing left mid in this game. Again, known for playing a left forward role with Sweden, has played left back with this team before, and has also played left back with her club team, FC Barcelona, but has not been in that spot today, more left mid attacking base. So Fridolina Rolfö gets the party started from a goal perspective at the 30th minute. And that too, breaking her silence, if you will, after scoring the first two matches for Blackgult. So how does Australia respond? Gory, Carpenter, back with Gory at midfield, and now back towards Hunt. She was the one that drew the penalty kick, or rather, was the one that caused the foul that caused the penalty kick to happen on VAR. Carpenter in towards Kerr in the box. Kerr can't get a good touch on it, whether it would be to pass or shoot it. Musovic easily collects it. Again, that's your one vessel, which we saw against England. Sam Kerr being the heart and soul of this team, and you kind of expect that going forward. But simply put, not a good layoff there. Again, you look at Zasir Musovic, had some good appearances, had went about 400 plus minutes or so without allowing a goal. Of course, allowed one against South Africa, went clean sheet against Italy, against Argentina, against the United States, and for the majority of the match against Japan. I say 120 because, or rather, I say 400 because the match against the United States went to 120 minutes. Here's Catley. Into the box it goes. Header off the run by Razzo, or rather by Gory, a little too high. Again, got spewed off the top part of her head and wasn't able to balance the ball forward, which caused the ball to go high rather than on target. In the 34th minute of play, Sweden up 1-0 on Australia. Fridolina Rolfö with a penalty kick in the 30th minute. Right now, that's the decider in this one. Australia looking for an equalizer. In Women's World Cup history, we have not seen a host end up in fourth place. Third place has ended up a few times. As Kerr looks it down towards Ford. Ford to bring it down. She's got Catley on the overlap. She goes there. Catley left foot across in the middle. Razzo can't get there. She was the closest one to getting a touch as Rolfö slaloms around. Back towards Aslani as Sweden tries to go on the counterattack here. Here they go with Blackstenius. Numbers rolling back for Australia. It's more like a 3-on-7 right now as it's forced back towards Rubinson and now towards Anderson. Sweden will regroup here as it's back with Eriksson in the back line. Ilstedt. Back to her fellow center back. There you go. Again, Sweden, not a team used to scoring early. Those Rolfö and Ilstedt, both of those goals against South Africa happening in the second half. Argentina, it was also second half goals. Same one. Japan was different. Meanwhile, Aslani now edge of the box. First shot deflected out towards the right. Canarid trying to force a check and turn. Laid off towards Angeldal, 25 yards out. Angeldal trying to play through towards Canarid. It was a right idea. A little bit too much sauce in the execution as it's out for an Australia goal kick. Again, thanks for tuning in on a Saturday early morning here in Phoenix. One more early morning / late night broadcast here in the United States, here in Phoenix, of this Women's World Cup right after this. It's Spain versus England in the final. "36th, and now it looks like the Swede is down. And haven't seen too many injuries in this match. A pretty clean one there, but Magdalena Eriksson caught up in some action. Let's take a look at this. It's between her and Sam Kerr. Two teammates. Again, you're going to see that a lot today because a lot of teammates on both sides are teammates at the club level, and they also have a great relationship with teams on the opponent's side. Of course, a lot of these teams, of course, rather a lot of these players meet up in the club leagues, especially the WSL in England. Chelsea, Arsenal, Man City, and Everton actually represented. And then a couple of representations of Sweden as well, BK Hopkin and Hammarby IF. As I mentioned before, Australia's head coach, Tony Gustafsson, is from Sweden. About a 13-year difference between him and Peter Gerhardsson, the head coach of Sweden. It's an interesting matchup. I don't think I've ever seen this many this many teammate pairings in one match. You think about it. Hammer BIF, BK Hockey, Everton, Man City, San Diego Wave, and the NWSL, Arsenal, and Chelsea. That is 7. So 7 teams can boast that they have players on both sides of the ball in this match. That's a good kudos, though. I mean, especially for a team when you start looking at teams like BK Hawken and Hammer BIF, contrary to like Chelsea and Arsenal. Like, don't get me wrong, those are good squads, but we know they're good squads. This ball sent towards Kerr. She's dancing in the box, and that's cut away by Ilestedt. Good pressure by Ilestedt and Ungeldal tracking back. Aslani on the right. Knocked out, picked off by Gory. She tried to get something going on the left-hand side, but that's picked away by Canarid. Throwing for the Aussies. Ball stays in the left. Carpenter, Fowler. Lost the ball. Razzo trying to get a touch. Fowler, not the best first touch, but she stays with it. Back with Razzo now on the right-hand side. Towards the right flank. Edge of the box. Intercepted by Aslani. Ball was trying to find Gory. Gory finds the ball again. Only for some time. A strong tackle. And here comes Sweden the other way. Canera tried going out to the right for Blackstenius. Now that one's picked off by Catley. And you look at how this played. I was a little surprised that we saw Canera go there, honestly. I'm not sure if that was the left-hand side, where she had much more wide open options. I believe you had about 2, if I'm not mistaken. So, wild chance, wild opportunity, if you ask me. As Ford can't play one to a Catley, intercepted by Canary. One to the other way. Bjorn, first time cross. Still at the edge of the box, though. Blackstenius, Rolfa. And she'll pass back towards the midfield area. Rubenson. And back into Sweden's half. With Eriksson. And then Ongeldal. 39th minute. Sweden up 1-0 on Australia. In a very solid game so far. Very high energy on both sides, but despite all that, the only goal of the match coming from the penalty spot, Brunelito Rolfa, the Barcelona lady, doing so in the 30th minute. Just sneak it past Mackenzie Arnold. Of course, Arnold doing quite well herself, playing in WSL with West Ham United. Long ball sent again towards Blackstenius. Fighting against Hunt, this time on the left-hand side. Off again. Angeldal back into the middle. Blackstenius, or rather Rolfa. Rubenson into some space. She dribbles forward. Left off towards Anderson. Cross in. Aslani with a flick. Saved and caught by Arnold. Reservoir Aslani looking for her first goal of the tournament, and Arnold wasted no time to put the score. That's headed back by Eriksson. Stop and go type play. Counterattack for both sides. For Garrison, for Sweden, Tony Gustafsson for Australia. So far, a third place match that is living up to the billing. Both teams wanting to show what they've got, wanting to show that they can be in the top 3. And again, for both sides, what an accomplishment it would be. Peter Garrison, part of a share of a dynasty if they show for Australia, and Tony Gustafsson, capper to what has been an extraordinary World Cup for the Matildas and the host country in general, as Ongeldal takes a shot from distance, and that one is just over the bar there. Taking it from 20 yards out, Sweden has been quite potent with those edge-of-the-box type attempts, especially in that area today. Ever since Rolfa got that first goal, Swedes have looked like the better team. They want to get a second here. Look at the slice. Flick. Got it with the right boot. Decent contact, just couldn't get the direction as speared past Arnold. Foul called, free kick. 42nd now. It's Haley Razzo trying to get on the turn. The split's going down to the ground. Luckily, her groin is okay. Poking one. Gory at the turn, tucked by Angeldal, and free kick ensues for Australia. How about this again for Gory, finding some open space. She's played well in this tournament. Again, used to play in that holding midfielder spot. Again, letting Trudy Cross kind of run wild in some sorts. Great center midfielder preparing for Australia. Ford in towards Fowler. Good nifty ball at the outside of the right boot, but a little too far for the Man City lady as it's cleared away. Knocks around. Gory. Triple team. Finds it out again towards Cooney Cross. She gets away from the coverage. Still rolling forward. Able to go 1-2 with Catley, who's almost playing like a left midfielder right now. Pass deflected back, and Aslani able to intercept Canarid. First time passing over to Blackstenius. 2-on-2. Rolfa's on her left. Blackstenius will go out there towards Rolfa. Edge of the box now. Fridolina Rolfa. Locking around a shot. And that's right. And Rolfa looking for a brace interaction. Again, woman who has been on the big stage for quite a while now. No longer one of the young players on the squad. 29 years old. Scored goal number 28 earlier. Goal number 29 retired for most goals in the forwards department on this Sweden squad with the striker today, Blackstenius. Meanwhile, ball played forward by Ford, trying to find Rouser. That's cleared away. I haven't seen Sam Kerr show up in a while for the Matildas. Wondering if that may change soon. Carpenter on the right, played towards Rouser into the box, and Rubenson will cut that away. Corner kick for the Matildas on the right side of the pitch coming up. Crowd starting to get into it. A warm cheer. Maybe a chance for Sam Kerr to show what she's got. She's in the box right now, along with Ford and many others. And scored an insane goal. I mean, a lot of the media outlets, both on social media in general in Australia, were touting that goal, saying, "Hey, sure, we lost that match to England, but at least we got that goal. It's pretty sweet." Catley from the right-hand side, lifted into the box, headed away there. Crashing run by Eriksson, redirected back in, and that one scooped up there from the knees by Musovic. Again, a very dangerous cracking ball there, and Cooney Cross almost stifled the Swedish goalkeeper. It takes a little bounce as well. And that's the thing, especially when you're on your knees like that. Meanwhile, Pokinor plays it back towards Blackstenius. Blackstenius is knocking it around and can't keep it in play on the end line with Arnold well off her line. Oh, man. Golden opportunity given on a platter to Sweden and wasted it. Again, Claire Pokinor with the dangerous pass back. And, I mean, give respect to the career she's had, but she was caught out of position a few times in the match against England and with a very careless giveaway there, if only. Meanwhile, Aslani's taken down about 30 yards out, and this will be a free kick towards Sweden. We'll also have our first yellow card in the match given towards Katrina Gory. 5 minutes of stoppage time, too, so it's going to be a while before the first half whistle will ring from Lang Park. Again, a great crew. Close to 49,000 in the stadium. Prominence. Again, we've got a few more, but the second largest stadium when it comes to the Australia side, to be honest with you. Yes. A stadium with a much larger capacity being Stadium Australia, where the final will take place. Also known as Incore Stadium, if you happen to be from Australia. Or Stadium for that. 35 yards out towards the right-hand side, more like the middle right side of the pitch for Sweden. Cheryl Foster will blow the whistle soon. Aflani left it in, back post, still bouncing around. Algondal with the poke, and it's just saved away. Gory clears it off before anything could happen. Again, the Swedes were rolling around in the middle. Once again, Australia and Arnold keep this a 1-0 match for now. Yeah. So many good chances, and Blackstenius again. It was a good cut by Gord to knock away, and again, Illerstedt also in the area. So Bjorn with the throw-in. Not exactly a take two, but the same principle. It's a ball played through Canarid. Cut around by Cooney Cross. How about that to nutmeg one of the Swedes? Cooney Cross still going forward as it rolls all the way back towards Illerstedt, who will pip this out towards the right. Canarid can't keep it in play. That ball goes back towards Australia. Bouncing, knocking, flicking around. 2 minutes down, 3 to go in this first half stoppage time. Catley again. Take the throw in. On the left-hand side. Ford. Rubenson's trying to argue that Ford got last touch. She was wrong. It was her. As thrown by Catley's out towards Fowler. She's been caught up in spaces kind of away from the right-hand side of the pitch, more in the middle of the pitch. Of course, a player that loves to cover ground as this one's played through towards Blackstenius. A beautiful net ball now. Blackstenius thought she was in the clear, but it was a good recovery there to just force that wide, shade her off as there was no deflection in the shot. Again, great play overall, and I think, again, as I mentioned, Polkenhorn just caught lacking there when it comes to ball watching, and Claire Hunt on the other side had to step in to shade the Arsenal striker off. So nonetheless, great chances. That's not to say that the Swedish side has not been good, and this Australia side. I mean, I think both of these teams have played very well. Maybe not their best performance of this tournament, at least from what I've seen, but most certainly very well. Aslani, easy flick right towards Catley. Her ball deflected by Canarid, follows to Blackstenius. Rolfa played through towards Aslani. Aslani tried playing through towards Canarid. That's picked up by Catley to right her previous wrong. Angeldal. Rubenson. Still in Australia's half we are in. Rubenson. Illerstedt. Bjorn. Pipped forward, too far for Aslani. Polkenhorn knocks it out off of Aslani for Australia 4. Knocking around we go. Gorey picked out towards the right for Carpenter. Into some space, trying to find Fowler again. That one's picked out by Rubenson. Only as far though as Cooney Cross, who plays it right back towards Fowler. Into some space. Look at her go. Dancing around. Lays it off towards Catley. Once again, towards this midfield attacking area. Aslani from the back was originally not called and now called for the foul. And now she's getting into a little push fight with Gorey. No gory scenes so far. Yes, pun is intended. But nonetheless, a little physicality here and a free kick coming for Australia. And from the way both of these teams have played, I don't think Sweden is content of winning this game 1-0, and I don't think Australia is content of losing this game 1-0. Both teams want to play for a third place. I'll probably talk about this more in the second half, but the way of playing a third place, the way of showing pride for your country, that might be a big point here going into the second half. Catley lays it off towards Cooney Cross. That one's headed away. Fowler can get to the ball. Rolls towards Gorey, but it's picked away. Catley back with Fowler. Out on the right. Here's Kerr. Kerr with the shot saved by Mosevic. And again, another clearance. Another collision there with Aslani and an Aussie. And now play will be stopped. Trainers will call on the pitch. Caitlin Ford was the one that collided with the Swedish captain. Already we're 6 minutes in the stoppage time. 1 minute past how we're supposed to end it. Sam Kerr again, the great shot. Very similar to what we saw against England. And Aslani on the other side attempting to clear it away, only to run into Caitlin Ford. Not what you want to see there. A little bit of a nasty collision as we will. 6:30. We've already seen a lot of action, so it looks like once Ford and Aslani are assessed in terms of concussion protocol, be seeing some late moments, maybe a few, but for the most part, it should lead us to the end of the first half. Again, a lot of third place games to be noted of. You had England and Belgium, 2018. I think Belgium won that 1-0, something on the lines of that. Then the 2022 Men's World Cup, you had Croatia and Morocco. Again, uh, kind of match very similar to this. We've got Croatia coming off a very swell appearance in 2018, making the final, and then 2022 fighting for third place, and then Morocco, essentially the Cinderellas of that tournament, first ever African team to make it to the semifinals of the Men's World Cup. And they were fighting to get on the podium. Unfortunately for them, it was Croatia to win 2-1. Same went for Sweden when they played England in the 2019 Women's World Cup third place match. Again, very good play so far. So Ford has been assessed, same as Slonny. Slonny will stay on the pitch. Ford will head off for the while. We are 8 minutes into first half stoppage time. And still, physicality remains. Let's be honest. So many of these players have been waiting their whole lives for moments like these. And despite the losses, to end out what has been a swell 2023 Women's World Cup, a dream for a team like Australia, still in the balance. So with that, we have reached halftime here from Lang Park, and right now the Matildas find themselves down 1-0 to Sweden, courtesy of a Fridolina Rolfo penalty kick in the 30th minute, as the foul was drawn by Sina Blackstenius in the box. I'll take a quick break, and I'll be back for the second half right here on my YouTube page, so don't go anywhere, folks. Back we are for the second half from Lang Park. Sweden and Australia still tied 0-0. My apologies. Lost track of time. So lost track of the first couple minutes or so. It's currently the 48th minute of play, 47 minutes for this match, and 43 minutes plus stoppage time remaining before we will find out if this is either heading to penalties or we will find out our third place winner. That's Sweden against Australia. Sweden lost 2-1 to Spain, Australia 3-1 to England. Both of those matches in regulation. But again, two teams looking for some glory. This is a long ball sent forward. That one's headed back by Magdalena Eriksson. Ellie Carpenter with a pickup here. Carpenter swung into the box. Sam Kerr can't get a touch as Natalie Bjorn clears. Filippa Angeldal out towards Joanna Kanerud. Trying to keep it in play. Leaves it off towards Angeldal. Goes around Slani. Trying to cut off a couple of players. One back by Mary Fowler of Australia. Haley Razzo gets a touch to it. She goes down, and Cheryl Foster will give a free kick towards the Matildas. Two teams in this matchup that would be legacy defining if either one would get third place. Sweden, if they get third place, it would be the fourth consecutive tournament where they would be in the top three. Of course, runner-ups in the 2016 and 2020 Olympics. Third place in the 2019 Women's World Cup in France, and would be 2023. For Australia, they have not been in the top three for a while. In fact, going into this Women's World Cup, they've only won one knockout stage match in their history. Ended up going all the way to the semifinals, where they lost to England. They made the third place match in the Olympics last year, lost 4-3 to the United States. Cooney Cross and Catley over the ball. Kyra Cooney Cross and Steph Catley. Steph Catley with the ball, lofting it over to the right, trying to find Sam Kerr, but she can't get a touch to it. Attempted to, kicking her right leg in the air, but it's out for a goal kick. And a good ball in, just took an unlucky bounce, and it's also good shading there by Joanna Anderson to just see it out, understand that Kerr was in the space close by, and I think Kerr understood that the ball bounced a little too high for her towards the end of that. As Tony Gustafsson looks on, handball will be called on Cooney Cross at midfield, so free kick for Sweden in this one. Again, the first ever UEFA versus AFC third place match. We've had a few over the years. CONCACAF well represented, of course, to the United States. We had an all-CONCACAF matchup in 2003. The United States beating Canada in that one. Also had a few all-UEFA ones as Cooney Cross sends a long ball forward, looking towards Kerr, but it finds the hands of Musovic as we're 50 minutes through this match, 40 minutes plus stoppage time remaining. Stats in this one, pretty simple down the stretch. 57% possession in favor of Sweden, 43% in favor of Australia. Aussies continue to attack, though. Aslani can't get a touch as it goes to Cooney Cross. Now towards Claire Polkinghorn. Rough possession, but it's able to be calmed there by the captain, or rather, it seemed like she was wearing the captain's armband, Cooney Cross. She's not. She hasn't worn the captain's armband in this matchup period. And I would guess if there's anybody, it would be Sam Kerr. Nonetheless, Fridolina Rolfa for Sweden got options both sides. Goes to the right here for Kanerud. Crunching tackle there by Caitlin Ford, who was tracking the way back. Joanna Kanerud trying to call that it was a handball. Ref will whistle. Cheryl Foster whistles for a free kick as Steph Catley goes to the ground for Australia. That is the Matildas get the free kick. Didn't really see what was wrong there, but let's take a look at this replay here. Well, first off, by Rolfa, great ball to find Kanerud, basically almost splitting it through a couple of defenders and then another defender. But it seemed like it was a crunching and it was a clean tackle, more importantly, by Ford. So I don't see why you would be in a situation to call for a foul. It was in the box, so it would have been a penalty. It would have been quite huge. That's how Sweden got their first goal. As here comes Ellen Rubinson going forward. Options both sides. Goes out once again. Here's Aslani with the shot. And that one's knocked away. Blocked out by Hunt. Pokenhorn can't save it as it goes out in the end line. Corner kick for Sweden. And now what is a very, very small minority in the stadium is starting to get back on their feet in these big moments. Again, you want more spacing from Aslani in that spot where you have her at number 10, has really been kind of playing a more back role, kind of playing more deep line and low key when it comes to building into the attack and getting shots. Hasn't really gotten a goal. That's something we saw in 2015 and 2019. Aslani wins it back, going into the middle. Angeldal going forward, and Fowler all the way back towards the defenders, clears it out. Was deflected off of Angeldal, so it's a throw in for the Aussies. 53rd. Sweden still up 1-0. If you look in the history of third place matches, they tend to be pretty high scoring to some extent. To some extent, they tend to be high scoring in both the men's and women's game. Again, men's game, sometimes the coaches decide to mix it up. Peter Gerhardsson and Tony Gustafsson both playing the same lineups that was seen in their matches on Tuesday for Sweden or for Wednesday for Australia. Free kick as it was Sam Kerr being pipped up in the air. Caitlin Ford was trying to argue. By the way, Ford was tested for concussion protocol at the end of the first half. She's now wearing basically a nice big tape, a bandage tape, if you will, around that forehead. Canarid, trying to find some space. Aslani laid off towards Canarid. Pokenhorn tried to argue. She touched it last. Rather, that was Canarid who touched it last, and indeed she did. Again, their Pokenhorn got out of position a couple of times in that first half. Almost gave the ball back towards Sweden and Blackstenius, who couldn't make a shot despite Arnold being semi off her line. So as I mentioned, we talk about the third place matches. England Sweden last year had 3 goals. I think England and Germany. England won 1-0. That was an extra time. So let's see. Obviously, it could be the same kind of situation here. We had Sweden and France. That was also a 3-game matchup. So contrary to the men's game, where historically it has been known of being a high-scoring match, that has not been the case on the women's side. Last time we saw a game where there was more than 3 goals, 2007, U.S. beat Norway 4-1. Meanwhile, Catley, in-swinger into the box, tripped up a little bit as Ford with the header, and it will be cleared away there. All the way back towards Catley again. Carpenter finds Anderson. Anderson waited her own sweet time to play it forward, and Razzo almost got a block to send it the other way. Nonetheless, out for a Sweden throw-in on the left-hand side. Up high in the air, high into what is now the night air here in Brisbane. This match started at 6 p.m. local time, a little bit later than we've seen the Australia matches, or basically the big matches in general. Both semifinals starting at 8 o'clock local time. Meanwhile, Sweden wins it back. Ball played through towards Blackstenius, unable to corral her off the ball. It's Pokenhorn, Gori, back towards Musovic. Musovic, the loft over to the right, Carpenter in the chest. A little nutmeg, looked like Rofa for a while, but Fridolina is able to win it back. Knocked out. Anderson, pip forward. Easy knockdown there by Hunt. Hunt all the way back with Musovic. Rather, with Arnold. My apologies. Catley. Well, I tell you what, it is 2:20 here in Phoenix, so got a few more of these late night, early morning broadcasts. I say early morning because 6 a.m. on the East Coast is 3 a.m. for me. So there's a chance where it's almost like I go to bed, I get up, I call this match, and I go back to bed. For 1 a.m., for midnight and 1 a.m., usually I stay up to call this. That is, I don't go to bed before then. Bjorn, Aslani, fighting there. Angeldal slipped on the ball and lost again. Ball bouncing all the way towards Aslani again. She's taken down from behind. just before it gets to the edge of the box on the right-hand side. Free kick for Sweden. And again, and actually on that side of the pitch, believe it or not, I think there seem to be a little bit more Swedish fans than Aussies fans. So a little bit of a home crowd, if you want to say that in very, very big quotes, knowing that one, Australia are the home team, technically speaking, in terms of attendance. Obviously, Sweden, the home team when it comes to paper, since they are the first team up there. Mary Fowler and Haley Razzo in the wall. So, not the tallest of players, but that's why you put your tall trees in the box. Kosovar Slani, standing on the right. Once again, trees in the area. Arm up, Aslani plays it, trying to find Algodal at the edge of the box, but it was knocked away there. It's a good read there by Gori. Now cut away there again. Rolfa couldn't see it out, but it did get deflected off of Carpenter, so a throw-in for Sweden. Peter Gerhardsen trying to repeat what this team did in 2019, getting third in France. By the way, good relationship between Peter Gerhardsen and Tony Gustafsson, of course, both of them from Sweden. Yet about a 14, almost 14 years difference between the two head coaches. 13 years and 37 days apart are their birthdays. Both of them played majority of their career in Sweden, although their time playing really only intersected for maybe 3 years overall, and they didn't play on the same team. In 2006, though, Gerhardsen was supposed to join Gustafsson on the Hammarby IF squad as one of Gustafsson's assistant coaches, but the rival and Gustafsson's current employer at the time, Helsingborg's IF, actually turned it down. But the two of them talked about the relationship with each other and growing the women's game, growing the game of football in general. They enjoy each other's company. They respect each other in the game of football and what they do. Even Gustafsson talked about Gerhardsen being a good friend and being a good matchup. So great to see the two Swedes getting along. Of course, one of them coaching his home country, the other coaching the host country. So it's quite an interesting predicament, if you will. Of course, there being two of quite a plethora of Swedish coaches out and about. Of course, Pia Sundhage, the other one, coached Sweden in the early to mid-2010s before taking over the post at Brazil. You were to tell me, though, if we would get a lot of interesting points with the Swedes. Two Swedes facing each other from a coaching perspective in a third-place matchup. Yes, I'm quite surprised. Changes coming for Australia. First changes of the day. Haley Razzo and Katrina Gori bow out. Their 2023 Women's World Cup campaign is done. Courtney Vine checks in on the right-hand side. Emily Van Egmond will also check in. So I could see at this point, Courtney Vine used to play on the right-hand side. I could see Mary Fowler check towards the center of the midfield. To be honest with you, that's where she's been playing throughout the entirety of today. Hasn't really motored into the front, despite being the second striker, as Carpenter sends a long throw that's easily headed away there by Ilestedt. Up with Carpenter again, right-footed cross, caught by Musovic right near her front post. And Ellie Carpenter as well. It's a great standstill, trying to get that cross fired off, but just can't square it in ways. Again, Australia can't really find the space in between, especially when you have the Swedish players around you. Again, you can always ask the question, especially this happens with forwards. You're basically shooting the ball. You need at least half a yard to find space, right? And the same could be said with passing. I mean, obviously, some of it is checking in the moment. Meanwhile, throw taken out to Emily Van Egmond, who makes her first touches of the match. Drops out towards Carpenter. Carpenter with Fowler, who's playing a little bit higher up than what we saw in the first half. Playing back in towards that right striker role. And here comes a sliding in Sweden the other way. 2 and 3. Slani out towards Blackstenius. Blackstenius now inside the box, trying to take a toucher on Hunt. Blackstenius there. Leaves it out towards Aslani. And it's in the net. Goal for Sweden. Beautiful link up there between your number 10 and your number 9. And Kosovo Asmani, the Swedish captain, gets her first goal of this 2023 Women's World Cup. The second one for Sweden today. Goal 2, Matilda's nil. And a well-deserved one for the Swedish captain. Again, a great link up, too, as I mentioned, in the build-up of this. And a great 2020 vision by Blackstenius. Of course, Slani knew the space. She had, it looked like Canarid running on the right, although she was a little bit farther behind from Blackstenius. At the same time, you had Blackstenius with a great just leave-off pass. And again, very unselfish of Blackstenius, who could have probably taken that shot after Hunt got in the way. But how about that build-up? Great finish, just evading the pause of Mackenzie Arnold again. Arms stretched out. That was a goal she needed. That was a goal she needed. That was a goal Sweden needed. And now the game has changed in its complexity. Kosovar Asllani, vice captain of the squad. Of course, wearing the captain's armband today because the captain, official first captain, Caroline Sager, is on the bench. She's played essentially that bench role throughout this Women's World Cup campaign. And Asllani, the AC Milan midfielder, of course, attacking midfielder mainly, with the 45th goal in her time playing for Sweden. Again, 34 years old, a chance that this is probably her last Women's World Cup. Great way to go out. That ends up being either the insurance or winner for Sweden today. Again, a great career. It feels like it's almost weird to see Asllani not play a big role when it comes to how that team plays. Meanwhile, Fowler, the other way, gets her through knocked out by Angeldal. Back with Angeldal now in the defensive third. Pipped forward, trying to find Blackstenius. Hunt with the interception and will shield off the Swedish striker this time. 65th. Now it's a 2-0 match, and it's all Sweden right now. All Sweden, all Peter Gerhardsson. I mean, technically speaking, in terms of had Gerhardsson ended up at Hammarby IF, this would have been protege against mentor, but now it's really just friend against friend. Either way, it's now in favor of the friend that is in charge of both coaches' home country. 2-0. Asllani out in the 62nd minute of the goal. Blackstenius with a good turn. Can they make it 3 possibly? Another ball played through. Canarid making the run this time, and this time crunching tackle instilled by Catley. Ball still stays in play. With Bjorn, and Ford tracking on the way back will clear it away. So if you're Australian Tony Gustafsson now, obviously you have a good squad. You made 2 changes with Gori and Razzo. Still have 3 changes to go in. Obviously, I mean, he said this though in the pregame that he's not going to give experience for the sake of giving experience. As long balls played forward, and I actually agree with him. You still have 25 minutes plus stoppage time remaining in this match. There's still plenty of time to go. We haven't seen a team. Well, actually, no, I take that back. We have seen one team come back from being down 2-0 to tie the match up. That was Argentina against South Africa, where South Africa got a goal, and then basically in the course of about 10 minutes or so, Argentina tied it up. About the 70th minute, South Africa got the second. Meanwhile, chance for Sweden again. Blackstenius now. Can she make it 3? No. Arnold with the save. Either way, she was called offside. And a very, very solid play by Sweden, which I think also kind of speaks dividends to how they played against Spain. I mean, in essence, in other words, they keep the ball against Spain, that game could turn out a very, very different way. But obviously, different ways nonetheless. Change coming for Sweden. It's a curtain call for Kosovar Asllani. And Blackstenius called onside. Kosovar Asllani with her 45th goal for her country, which does put her in some pretty prominent range. A nice finish there from 15 yards out. She will get a well-deserved curtain call heading into the bench of what is potentially one last ride for her. So we did get a couple of changes I'd pursue. The other change is someone else. Hertig is now in the Lena Hertig in the match. Same goes for Rebecca Blomqvist, who's now in. So once again, a curtain call and a celebration right now for the Swedes to show what got them to this position. Back in the top four. Of course, top four relevance throughout. Made to the finals of the 2016-2020 Olympics. Made it to the top four of the Euros. Out towards Hertig. Her first touches on the day. Hertig now going towards the end line. Rolls a shot. It's easily collected by Arnold. Pardon me if I keep on saying Musovic. My apologies. And Hertig again had the game-winning penalty kick in the shootout against the United States that barely, in the course of a millimeter or so, crossed the goal line. So Blomqvist now in. Still a very, very good day at the office for Sweden. Still a lot to be proud of as well, though, for both sides. Here's Fowler fighting with the ball. Angeldal on the pitch. Angeldal still down. And now basically by almost crowd hoarding it, is going to give up a free kick for the Matildas. Another chance, and got Catley in the middle to possibly take it. Sam Kerr and others there. Same with Hunt. Curtin Call, can they get something late? Long ball sent high. Hunt with the header back in the middle. Poking horn shot right towards Musovic. And eventually it's cleared away. So close for the Aussies to get something going. Nonetheless, let's take a look at this. Hunt, first off, that was a great fit back in. Seems like very textbook type work there. Training ground type work, if you will. Ball rolls. Illustrate clears. Australia throw. 70th minute, about 20 minutes plus stoppage time are remaining in this one. How about this? From Australia, again, if it holds the way it does, obviously I could be wrong, but regardless of what we'll see in the next 20 minutes, you have to give credit of what Australia has done in this tournament, right? Sam Kerr said this with her pre-match interview. Quote, in 5 to 10 years, we'll look back on this time and realize this is the most amazing 4 weeks of our lives, which is probably true. Long ball sent in, poked up to the middle. Fowler can't get a touch to it. The initial chance there was actually by Kerr. She and Mackenzie Arnold, the netminder, were actually out and about in Brisbane earlier this week, and people were coming up to them and saying thank you. Not job well done, as Kerr says, is pretty contemporary, or rather pretty usual whenever they go out. It was thank you. Thank you. Sometimes one of the best sayings in the English language. 71st minute. Anderson throwing deep in the defensive third, cut out by Carpenter. Now slowing in the middle, going cross, bounces at the loft all the way back towards the end line for Cecilia Musovic. Now, I don't know what the rulings are for a Golden Glove award, but you have to figure that somewhat of a Golden Glove award has to come down to how they play, and how, more importantly, Cecilia Musovic has played. I mean, the matchup against the United States, 11 saves in that match. Quite impressive. It looks like Tony Gustafsson is going to go to his bench in a little while, so keep that in mind as we keep on going in this one. Meanwhile, chance for the Swedes. That one's picked off there. Cooney Cross going forward, at least for a while. Angeldal, the one to cut it out. Rubinson? Bjorn. Bjorn knocking around. Rofa. Spinning it out of trouble. To the back we go. Eriksson. Hurtig. Rushed off the ball. Back with Anderson. Knocked out there by Vine. Throwing for Sweden. So you could say a few for Australia. We saw number 8, Lena Hurtig, come in for Sweden. We could see number 8 for Australia coming in. I mean, Alex Chidiak, however you pronounce it, playing for Racing Louisville in NWSL. Just 2 hours away from my hometown of Cincinnati, Ohio. So looks like she's coming in. Also heading in will be Courtney Nevin, if I'm not mistaken, is one of the 6 players on Tony Gustafson's squad who's yet to make an appearance at this 2023 Women's World Cup. So it would be a great sight to see Nevin come in a little while. Now, once again, here comes Sweden. Canard off again. Lofted to the middle, into the middle, and Rolf and Hurtig, neither one could get a nice glance towards the target as that's cleared away by the Aussies. All the way forward, going towards Vine, but it's cleared away there by Eriksson and out. With that, now we'll see the 2 changes that I alluded to before. Alex Chidiak coming in along with Courtney Nevin. 74th minute of play. Still got plenty of time. Australia still has enough time to come back. There will be a change in 2 of the back line members, Claire Pokinghorn and Ellie Carpenter off. As we'll see a change there, of course. Chidiak used to playing the midfield role. At the same time, you have Courtney Nevin, of course, the defender onto herself. So a like-for-like change from Nevin and Pokinghorn, but Chidiak could be one to get up the pitch if necessary. Nonetheless, Kerr taken down, still down on the pitch, as Eriksson sends it forward. Catley, Fowler. Laid off again. Catley with some good space on the left-hand side. Kerr remains down as the ball sent in. Now it's a Chidiak again. Vine down the right. Crossed into the middle. Fowler's shot blocked away. It's a good run again as Kerr remains on the ground. That is not a good sign for Australia. Play continues. Cheryl Foster, I don't think, has even recognized that Sam Kerr is down. And I think the fans are making that known right now. And now Cheryl Foster will check on her. So 75 minutes, and Australia's captain is down. Again, she herself, I think, has had a very interesting tournament. Missed the entirety of the group stage because of a calf injury picked up in practice. That included the win against Ireland 1-0, but also a 3-2 loss against Nigeria, which was actually right here at Lang Park. And she was available off the bench against Canada, but they were able to get the win 4-0 either way. So she remained on the bench, made her first appearance of the tournament against Denmark in I believe, a 2-0 victory in that matchup. And then played in the match against France. Came off the bench once again, to my knowledge. I mean, again, someone nursing a calf injury would be very surprising. In her first start, she ended up going 120 minutes. Yeah, she didn't go 120 in that match, I figured. Nonetheless, 120 minutes in that one. Ended up going to penalty. That is for the game in general, not Sam Kerr. Penalty kicks. Sam Kerr ended up converting it. Got her first goal of the tournament against England. A screamer from about 25 yards out. So she will hobble off. No need for assistance, so she walks under her own power. No indication of whether or not she will be subbed off, but nonetheless does get a few applause from the Aussie fans, still on their feet too, by the way. So credit to them, hosting a Women's World Cup, basically hosting a major tournament. Of course, Australia hosted the 2015 AFC Asian Cup on the men's side. But of course, the Asian Cup, as the name insists, is only within teams in Asia, or at least in Australasia. All played through all the way back, and just like that, Sam Kerr is back out on the pitch. So a very, very short break for her. Not even 13 seconds. I don't think even 20. 78th minute. So another long ball sent forward by Arnold. Hurtig with the head out. Thrown for Australia on the right-hand side. Vine knocked down towards Van Egmond or so. Ball bouncing around. Ball taken down. There's Van Egmond, the one going down there. Rofa called for the foul. And again, as time rolls on, you figure Australia needs to get a goal in probably the next 5 minutes or so if they want a fighting chance against Sweden. Tony Gustafsson is telling all of his players, or most of them at least, to get forward here. Claire Hunt to take this. Lofted high, doesn't even get close to the box, as that's easily headed away by Rubinson. All the way back again towards the crew in the back. Gorey running through, trying to go from the back. Either way, taken down by Rubinson. It's a free kick. Collision there. I believe that was Cooney Cross, actually. Pardon me. Cooney Cross. I'll tell you. I've done pretty well on these early morning broadcasts. Today, I don't know what's going to happen. So, I don't know. Either way, collision between the two 23s on the pitch. Cooney Cross and Rubinson. Free kick again. Another long ball sent in by Hunt. Can't find Van Egmond. Chested down, cleared away. Towards Hunt again. The center back trying to go forward. As here's Shadiak. Can't play it out towards Vine. Intercepted by Anderson as she sees it out for an Australia thrower. Knocked out, rather. Now some notes again. Back with Blomqvist. Now Hurtig. Hurtig dribbling it around. Trying to get past Cooney Cross. And Australia's center midfielder is still fighting. Finds Angeldal, though. And her long ball. All the way back towards Catley, who just plays this out on the touchline for Sweden. And Sweden got a resounding 5-0 over Italy, 2-0 over Argentina, 2-1 over South Africa. Not a team known for getting those multi-goal victories in this tournament. Again, that was also the case for many teams in this tournament. I don't think there were many teams I could argue in the group stage that they had multiple matches where they won by multiple goals. I'm trying to think. England did not. Spain lost by multiple goals. They lost 4-0 to Japan, but I'm trying to think. Spain ended up. They beat Costa Rica. They beat Costa Rica and Zambia. Yeah, Costa Rica. Both Japan and Spain in that group looked really good. They were on another level compared to Costa Rica and Zambia. It's one of the few groups where you could see a true divide. In others, it was pretty close overall. Ball headed out there by Angeldal there on the right. And once again, Australia does take two down the line. Gianni Infantino in the box today here in Brisbane, Australia. 81st minute, now on to the 82nd. This intriguing matchup. 16th meeting overall between these two sides. Sweden leads in the overall series 9 wins, 4 draws, and 2 losses. However, the most recent meeting was in November 2022 in Melbourne. The totals 1-4-0. Sam Kerr, Caitlin Ford, and Mary Fowler with the goals, with Ford having 2. This one sent in. Hurtig with a header back towards the touchline. Kerr sends it back with latitudinally, that is. Now, nonetheless, Hunt with a right-footed cross in, caught by Musovic. And Sweden again embraces with Bjorn on the catch. That's a good sign there. Sweden getting closer to win number 10 in this rivalry and avenging the 4-0 loss that happened last year in Melbourne. Hurtig rolling around, played back again towards Anderson. Rofa back with Anderson again. Hip forward. I want a good cut there by Hunt to pick it off. Vine laid off. Last touched by the Australians, so throwing for the Swedes. 83rd minute. Obviously, you can look at the schedule after the Women's World Cup for both sides. Australia unto themselves. I mean, they're an AFC, so they don't necessarily get a fast lane to the Olympics as they used to before. As here comes Sweden. The other way, Canarid with a great dribble into the box now. Triple teamed, and that eventually catches up to her. Hunt, the one to officially stifle. Canarid again. Tried keeping it on the end line, but it dribbles out. Okay. Australia overall put up a really good tournament, as I've said before. I mean, the fact they were able to unite a nation, and I think the other thing that should be mentioned is that semifinal against England had more than 11 million viewers tuning in for that match. So just think about it from this perspective. 11 million people or so, more than 11 million people, about 40 to 45% of the nation. 40 to 45% of the nation was tuning in. So think about the United States numbers, because I live in the United States, as this one my hunt is headed back towards Arnold. The United States, the most watched broadcast for a soccer match, in my knowledge, is 25 million. And that was in the 2015 Women's World Cup final against Japan. It was a night game. It was in Vancouver, British Columbia, so very similar to the United States time zones. 25 million. Now, keep in mind, the United States is a country of about 350 million. So something like that, they look like about 1 in 14 people watching that. Here, it's about 1 in 2 or 1 in 3. Also, to note, just going off the fact that it was 40 to 45% of people tuning into that match. That's 40 to 45% of people in the country. The Super Bowl every year has about 100 million viewers in the United States. Now, this year is up towards 115 to about 120. That's about 1/3 of the population, about 30 to 33%. 30 to 33% of the United States population watches the Super Bowl. And you know how popular it is, right? 42% watched the Australia-England match. And I would figure a good chunk of them would watch today as well. As here comes Ford, rattling around in the center, pushed down there for a while by Odell. Nobody picks it up on the right-hand side, and Anderson will go forward, playing it through towards Blomqvist. I think it's safe to say now that she has replaced Black Stadium. So it was a like-for-like 9 and 10 change. Presumably, Hurtig will be playing kind of the center role. You have Blomqvist as center midfielder, and then Blomqvist will be playing the center forward. Rofa could also be playing center. We could see Hurtig more on the left. That's what it seems like for a while. Those have been your only 2 changes in the match for Peter Gerhardsen's crew. Looks like we might get one more. Get a little bit of a veteran in there, with a Sembrant. If I'm not mistaken, started the match against Argentina. Gerhardsen played essentially not necessarily a B squad, because I feel like this team had a very good depth going forward in this Women's World Cup. But nonetheless, he made a lot of changes. 9 changes between the match against Argentina and the match against the United States, which was their round of 16 game. Chidiac, fine, trying to pip back towards Chidiac. That's knocked out by Rubinson, throwing for Australia. Vine will take it. Chidiac will be moving up to right mid. Courtney Vine, essentially playing right back at this point. could be challenging her inner, and or rather, her inner Ellie Carpenter, not Emily Carpenter. Ellie Carpenter. Take down the middle. Rofa, the culprit on Cooney Cross. Free kick. Grateful eyes looking on from the sideline for Australia, especially for the veterans. You think about players like Pokenhurst. Even Emily Van Egmond mentioned the fact that in 2010, only thousands, maybe hundreds of people would show up to their matches. Now, I mean, they had more than 75,000 many times, 3 times to be exact, in this Women's World Cup. We got more than 49,000 inside Lang Park tonight in Brisbane. Again, a great stadium. Has been around since the 1960s. Hosted 7 matches of the 2015 AFC Asian Cup, but the highest match they ended up hosting was the quarterfinals. So this, in sense of placement of a tournament, of a World or Confederation tournament, is the highest the stadium has gotten. A lot of interesting matchups too. Rugby, association football. Not too much cricket. One of the few stadiums that has not hosted cricket. But nonetheless, very good. Hosted the Jeff Horn Manny Pacquiao battle. That is in the UFC welterweight fighter. Ellen Rubinson, by the way, for a foul, fell for the yellow card. Now it's with change. Gerhardson's assistants talking with Sembrant, and indeed, we'll see a curtain call now for Joanna Canares. Did not score in this Women's World Cup, but at the same time, similar to what she did in 2019 in the Women's Hero, once again showing out on the big stage. So she will bow out. Her 2023 Women's World Cup has come to an end, and Linda Sembrant will now check in. Again, Sembrant, known for playing more of a defender spot, and her number touts it to be the famous number 3. As this one is sent high into the box, caught by Musovic. So Gerhardson going for a simple change down the side. Emblem, if you want to. Tove Emblem, the only player listed to my knowledge on this Swedish side that is yet to make an appearance at this Women's World Cup. Of course, Gerhardson could play her here, as we have about less than a minute plus stoppage time remaining. In that case, to my knowledge, it would mean that every player on this 23-player roster for Sweden would have played or made an appearance at the 2023 Women's World Cup. One where, presumably, they would end up getting 3rd place. How about this? Rubinson. This is the foul that was called against her. It was Chidiak the one taken down. Arnold with another boot forward. And with that, we're in the stoppage time. 6 minutes until the final whistle will blow here from Lang Park. Final chance for Australia, maybe to get some sort of bright light. Sam Kerr talked about them ending this on a high note. Again, not necessarily fun when you're down at 2-0, but if you can end out this match, you can end out the tournament with the goal, be well deserved. As Kerr tried playing it through, can't find Vine. Cooney Cross now on the right. Into some space. She finds some space, trying to get past Blomqvist, able to take a nifty touch back. Now cutting it towards the middle, all the way back towards number 2 for Australia. Couldn't tell who it was. As this one sent high into the box, another chance. Cleared away once again. Booted forward, booted high, booted out. And now booted back into territory. Headed there by Bjorn Throen. Ford is being a little rapid. She's playing wishful thinking here. Courtney Nevin, by the way. She's wearing number 2. Ball bouncing again. 25 yards out towards Catley on the left wing. Fowler on the left. Pretty quiet day for her, but she lifts it into the box. Headed away by Eriksson, just away from Kerr. Cooney Cross sends it back in. That's cleared away. Another chance. Skips wide. And Chidiak had to jump out of the way there. Emily Van Egmond, the one firing from distance. Again, it's a good header away by Erickson. Sam Kerr was wide open. That falls right to Kerr. That's probably the goal right there. Kind of changes the match, gives Australia at least a fighting chance in this one. But a good balance of veterans right now for Australia. Yeah, a team led by Sam Kerr didn't get the miracle that some of the writers were talking about, especially after that loss to Nigeria, where they needed 3 points against Canada to stay in the Women's World Cup, and ended with a resounding 4-0 victory to take the group, especially after Nigeria only managed to get a point. I still am a little bit interested in the fact of Nigeria getting that point caused Australia to win, which caused them to face Denmark, which they beat, caused them to face France, who they beat. And then they ended up playing England in the semifinal. Otherwise, had it not been the case, we would have had an Australia-England an Australia-England round of 16 matchup. That's another interesting thing about it. So back again. About halfway through stoppage time, as Mackenzie Arnold readies for the goal kick. A few of the defenders back at the edge of the box. She goes to the one in the center, all the way back from Nevin. This one shot up, forward with the header, falls towards Catley on the left. Catley with the cross in the box, a little too high there for a running chance there for like Van Egmond. Have to remember Van Egmond playing kind of in that center row. Cooney Cross still playing back. Blomqvist is still going forward, and now Cheryl Foster will give possession back to Australia. Gerritsen brought in a woman like Sembrant in the spot for a reason. He knew that Australia was going to attack late, as Razzo pushed to the ground there by Hurtig. That would be a free kick for the Aussies. And Hurtig will flick the ball away. Crowd wants a card. I don't know if she will get one. Looks like she will. So Lena Hurtig landing in the book there with a yellow. Second yellow on the Swedes today. Alan Rubenson getting one earlier in the second half, and Katrina Gorey getting one in the first for Australia. Speaking of Australia, they got the free kick here. Set into the box, running near post towards Ford, and another simple catch for Musovic. Another simple laugh. They can sense it in Sweden. They can sense a dynasty is brewing. Their men's team celebrated a third-place finish in 1994 at the Men's World Cup in the United States. Sweden finished third a few times before in this Women's World Cup. This will be the third time they would do so, by the way. They got second in 2003, so it would also be their fourth time placing at the Women's World Cup. Quite impressive already. Australia, once again, the tribe remains true in the sense that the United States back in 2003 remains the last team to win their third place match, or basically place in the top 3 of a Women's World Cup that they hosted. It's still 20 years. Because of the United States hosting in 2027, for all you know. That's a talk for another day. So let's see them. Colombia has been in the running for the past few times. I mean, they had a great appearance. Made all the way to the quarterfinal against England, where they ended up losing 2-1. Very big celebrations at this Women's World Cup, and a lot to be proud of. Musovic sends it forward all the way back once again towards Vine. And this ball lofted forward, goes back towards Arnold. Approaching 6 minutes in this one. A simple roll towards Nevin, and she dribbles it forward. Ball lofted forward. Out again. Kerr to pivot out towards Ford. Ford with the chance, cutting inside, tried to possibly chip Musovic off the line. Although both were kind of impossible. What's not impossible is that Sweden has now repeated as your third place finishers, this time with a 2-0 victory over the hosts, Australia. Peter Gerhardsson will hug his fellow assistant coaches and hug his players as Sweden now becomes the first team to place in 4 consecutive global tournaments since the United States did it in 2008 through 2015, as they won the gold medal in 2008 and 2012, and then a runner-up in 2011 Women's World Cup, and then the winning the 2015 Women's World Cup. Sweden now joins that group with the 2016 silver medal, the 2020 silver medal, third place in the 2019 Women's World Cup, and now third place in 2023. I'm Mihir Sinhasan. Thanks for tuning in to this broadcast and live react of the 2023 Women's World Cup from Australia and New Zealand. One more to go. One more of these early morning broadcasts. And it's the biggest one of them all. Spain versus England, a rematch from the Women's Euro 2022 quarterfinals. This one to decide all the marbles and to decide the best team in the world. We'll see you tomorrow for what will be a great matchup. Until then, stay safe